All right, time to up here on a Thursday evening here. I'm on the road, but I got Steve Sparks, radio announcer and the consummate pro, ready to break it down with us. And, hey, Steve, we'll just jump on. Now, the Astros, a little bit slow coming out. But I was at the game last night. It was a good game. They played well. Your take is they hit the second.
Yeah, Bob. I think we need to get a better reception.
Steve, I can kind of take over here for just a minute, but I think Bob was asking about the game last night where we dropped 2 in a row. Did the Indians coming out?
You broke up on me too. I think some of Bob's static is getting in there.
You ask him a few questions. I'll see if I get better reception.
Can you hear me now, Jason?
Yeah, I got you okay, Sparks.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, Bob's out for a sec. But, yeah, we're talking about the Astros dropping a couple in a row to Cleveland. What's the take on the Astros right now going into a 4-game series?
You know what? We talked with Kyle Tucker. We've talked with a couple of players. Coming out of the All-Star break, where the Astros lost a couple of those games in Chicago, you look at the White Sox pitchers as an entirety, just a ton of hard throwers. They're coming off of a break of 4 games where you're not facing live pitching and facing upper 90s right out of the gate. I thought it was a little shocking to the system. So I think that's where you saw the bats get a little cool. I thought they picked it up in that Cleveland series and did a nice job. So going forward now that they're playing every day again, I think they'll get back into that groove. And I think this offense is really something to contend with. I think it's built for the long haul. I think the biggest test for Dusty Baker and his staff is how do I keep guys fresh, especially in my eyes, a player like Yuli Gurriel, who we saw at the end of the first half start to look a little tired, and we saw it last year. So I think they're going to have to be tested to figure out a way to get some of their players off their feet.
Yeah, and just kind of manage their playing time here over the second half of the season. I would agree with you. Look, the hot topic for me, I could ask about the trade deadline. What are you kind of hearing on the Astros side? I know there's a few options. Obviously, Marte for Florida being at center field is the biggest one. Tanner Scott from Baltimore. What are you kind of hearing around the Astros right now as far as trade options?
Well, we hear the same type of things that you do, and we're not going to really hear anything on the inside as far as broadcasters, just because to be able to pull off those deals, man, everything's got to be as hush-hush as possible. But I'll say this. So when you start looking at trade partners, the Astros have a few people sprinkled around the league right now that used to be big-time scouts in the Astros organization. And why is that important? And the biggest reason that's important is because they value the Astros minor leaguers probably more so than somebody who doesn't really know those players as much. And here's where they are. They're in Pittsburgh. They're in Atlanta. They're in Arizona. And one of the former assistant general managers for the Astros is in Baltimore. 4 teams that are looking to sell at the deadline. So I think those 4 teams line up better than anybody else. And when you look at those teams in particular, one name that intrigues me more than anybody else is somebody that's very familiar and very popular in Houston, and that's Charlie Morton. When you think about Charlie Morton, who can gobble up innings, who can match up against anybody and it be favorable, and also can swing back and forth from the bullpen to the rotation with these. So my eyes right now, and this is totally speculation, is Charlie Morton. You mentioned Charlie Marte. I think that would be a good get. And I would be kicking the tires on Craig Kimbrell of the Chicago Cubs.
Absolutely. We want to watch him run into the dugout.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. But I think they need a couple of arms. There's no doubt about that. A couple of arms, I think, are very necessary.
And don't you think that outweighs going after a splash in center field? Don't you think the arms outweigh going after the center player?
Yeah, when you're talking about priority, I would agree. I say that's your priority, but I wouldn't be opposed to going out there and seeing if you can pull off a deal for Marte. I think he's a difference maker too.
Absolutely. So, all right, so 4-game set here with the Rangers coming up. What's your prediction here, Sparks? We're going to win the division. Don't you feel pretty comfortable with that, saying that?
Well, there's a long way to go, and I really respect the Oakland A's, and I think it's obviously a 2-horse race. I think the Angels now 2 games below 500. Seattle, I think they're still a year away from really making a lot of noise in the division. But I think Oakland and the Astros, and you know what? They don't meet again until 2 of the last 3 series of the season. So they don't play head-to-head. And it's going to be interesting to see what Oakland does at the deadline. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Astros do at the deadline. And I think once you start to see what happens after July, now this is a true deadline. You know, in years past, there were still a lot of deals made in August. That's not going to be the case anymore. This is a dead set deadline where you're going to be able to make some trades, and that happens a week from today, next Friday. So I think it's going to shake out. Do I feel comfortable that the Astros are going to be in the playoffs? Yes. Win the division, I feel pretty good, maybe 80% in my eyes that they're going to win the division. But, you know, it's still a long way to go, and I don't think everybody's going to stay healthy until we get to the goal line.
Hey, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
I can't.
So I don't know if you talked about the game last night. I said, and every time Jose comes, the buzz in the crowd just builds and builds and builds. I mean, we're pretty special right now, aren't we, Steve?
We are. You're talking about Jose Altuve, and he just reached 10 years of service time a few days ago, and that's a special milestone for a lot of players. And he talked about how quickly it's gone by, and he's at the point now, and he's still in the prime of his career, in my eyes, and he's still an electric player. But he's at the point now where he wants to enjoy what he's doing more so than he probably did this first 5 or 6 years. And I think once you get to the point where you've made your money and you've won a championship and you've gotten to the playoffs a few times, you've been an MVP and a multiple All-Star and a Gold Glover and all those things. Now it's about really, and you guys know this as well as anybody, it's about enjoying relationships and your teammates and doing things together and working for that common goal. So I think that's where he is right now. I think he lifts everybody up. And Bob, I think that's what you're talking about. When you watch him at the stadium, everybody gets excited when he comes to the plate because you feel like he's going to do something special. And there's a few players on this team, but nobody more so than Jose. He's been here the longest. He's been doing it the longest. He's come through in the biggest moments. You know, we'll look back on the golden era of these Astros teams, and Altuve will stand at the very top.
Yeah, he's 10 years in. A lot of people are already saying he's the greatest Astro ever. Of course, a couple Hall of Famers out there. But I can see Altuve doing this for 10 years.
Yeah, it's hard to stay healthy, you know, and it's hard to stay motivated. So it just depends. I will say this. He's a very sensitive person, and you guys know this. I don't know how much this booing is wearing on him. Now, right now, it doesn't look like it, but if it's going to be that way the rest of his career, which I kind of think it probably will be, I mean, that's gonna wear on him. And if I was to guess more than anything else, one of the biggest reasons why a couple of guys didn't want to go to the All-Star game, part of it was to stay healthy, but another part was not to subject their family to a lot of that ridicule because that gets old, and I think a lot of them are still a little embarrassed about it. But they've kind of flipped it on the other end, and it's kind of us against everybody else right now, and it's working for them. And when you have that little chip and a lot of talent, good things can happen.
Speaking of the All-Star game, real quick, Steve, it was supposed to be the Ohtani show, but Pete Alonso stole it from him in Coors Field. Did you watch the Home Run Derby live?
I watched most of it. I didn't see all of it, but I saw a lot of what Alonso did. I saw all of Ohtani's stuff. And it just seems like Pete Alonso is built for that competition. You know, he's just big and strong. And I felt like this anyway. Now, Ohtani could be very tired right now. You got to admit that. With all he's been doing and all the attention and all the media attention and how much energy he has to expend on a nightly basis. But that was kind of a stamina contest, I thought, especially when you're thinking about the climate in Denver, to go out there and to be able to blast balls like that in those bursts for that long. And I thought that it was going to be somebody who was going to be big and strong to win that competition, and it was Alonso.
And unbelievable. I kind of heard about his salary setup, but I mean, to double your salary in about an hour there is a pretty good deal.
You know what? That reminded me of a player that I played with who told me that he was on the Blue Jays World Series championship team that won the World Series in Philadelphia. And on their flight back to Toronto, he won more money than he made during that season in a poker game.
That is great stuff. Steve Sparks, Bob, if you don't have anything else, thanks for joining us. We'll be back in the studio next time. But let's go, Stros. Get a little swoop job on the Rangers ship coming up.
Yeah, I can't wait for this trade deadline. Let's talk about what things look like in a few weeks because we're going to have a lot more clarity coming up pretty soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Steve, thanks again, man. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we'll be back in the house next time, brother.
Sounds good, guys. Y'all take care.
Take care, Steve. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bob, you're in and out here, but I tell you, I just got to ask you. Look, NBA draft next week. If the Rockets don't take Kevin Mobley, this is going to set us back. I'm here to tell you.
Next week, and break down the Rockets draft. Texans starting next Wednesday. We'll have all the huddle up next week. All right, man. Be safe, Jason.
You be safe, Bob.
All right, brother. I can't even get it off. I don't know.